Be nice for Sunday, isn't it? Get this in here. Okay.
Jim, you seem to have had a pattern these last 3 games of just going through stretches where you can't get a stop. What do you think's going on there?
I think if it was any one thing, particularly, I'll just speak to this last game. We had a couple penalties that kept some drives alive. I think that's been a common theme going back in a few of our games. We kept some drives alive, gave them some chunks of yards with some penalties. And when we played our best, we've played clean football. But I think this was a combination. There was a big play in the passing game, and there were also some third down and short conversions and some run game that let the ball move. Along with a couple plays in the red zone. I mean, teams are going to move the ball, but you got 3rd and goal at the 5. We got to hold them to a field goal there. We got that ball on the 11-yard line, and Adrian Peterson goes all the way, back door across our defense. Those are plays that, that led to a lot of those points. We got to hold them to field goals in those situations. When we're at our best, we're stopping the run. We're playing clean football, and we're playing good in the red zone. We're winning on 3rd down. I think you could probably point to each of those as contributing to some of the plays we gave up in that game.
What have been the issues with stopping Zeke over previous games?
Stop it. You're also Cowboys.
Elliott, I mean, he's had a lot of success against you guys. You guys have done well against some of the other running backs, but for some reason he is.
Well, he's a good, strong running back. They got a good offensive line. They got good blocking tight ends. They got a quarterback that's mobile, that will run the ball also. They run some option type stuff. So, it's not just him, but there's, a lot of other stuff. They got some big play receivers. But he's a strong contact runner, and we're going to have to put a lot of hats on him. It's not going to be, one-on-one tackles. It's going to have to be gang tackling, team defense in order to limit his yards and limit his effectiveness.
Do you feel like you guys are tackling as well now as you were maybe the first half of the season or first 10 weeks?
Yeah, this last game I don't think was our best tackling game, and we're going to have to get it back pretty quick. And it was, a couple different things. Like I've said it a bunch of times, when you're pursuing well as a team, you don't notice missed tackles. We had Adrian Peterson jammed up on the front side, really did a good job on the front side of that. We folded too quick on the backside. And all of a sudden he was bouncing out the back door. That's really not bad tackling. That's poor pursuit. So I think that's there. And then, there were some of those other plays he sort of pushed ahead on some of those 3rd down and short type things. Like I said, when you're pursuing well, tackling always looks good because, one guy misses or one guy slips or is holding the guy up, another guy can come clean it up. And that's what's going to have to be for this game.
With the pass rush, typically young quarterback had been holding on to the football a little bit. You guys didn't get home. Sacks don't always tell the story, but what did you see from the pass rush?
Yeah, they had taken a lot of sacks, and I think they addressed that in what their game plan was. They were throwing a lot more quick passes and also running the ball a lot more. The times we were able to flush them a couple times on some 3rd down, force an incompletion on a 3rd down, led them to a long field goal, was hoping to keep them out of field goal range on that play. But part of their plan was getting rid of the ball quicker, and there it just puts more stress on your coverage, more stress on, getting those stops. It's not always about sacking the quarterback. It's about getting stops, and, we can do a little better with that.
What stands out to you when you take a look at the film from the last time that you guys played Dallas earlier this season?
What did you say again?
What stands out to you when you take a look at the film from when you guys last played Dallas earlier this season?
Yeah, I think I said this the last time we played. One of the signs defense is, you play complementary football with your offense. Your offense isn't going to hit on all cylinders. Sometimes your defense isn't going to hit on all cylinders. And, they turned the ball over a couple times in that game. We gave up 2 quick touchdowns. And that's probably the thing I was most disappointed in that game. Hold them to field goals right there. Give us a chance. We did that in this last game against Washington. We turned the ball over. We got a quick stop, got the ball back for offense. Our offense went down and scored and, won the game. And we didn't do that in the first game. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. And then also in that game, to follow up earlier question, I think we had think we had 2 third downs in that game that we kept alive with penalties. And there were stops that we had. And, when you face an offense, that's like the Cowboys. You're going to have to play good, clean football. You can't give them anything for free. They're going to make enough on their own without giving them a defensive holding or a defensive pass interference or, anything else that you can imagine that moves the sticks.
Jim, the quick passes, is the main adjustment to maybe have your corners play tighter, at the line, or do you have to mix that up?
No, I think you mix it up because it just depends. I mean, you can throw quick over the middle, and it's more of your inside coverage than it is your corners. And I think you have to make the plays that come to you. We had our hands on the ball, and I talked about the third down stop in the red zone, but we had 2 hands on the ball a couple plays before that. We can get off the field with 0 points right there. We didn't make that play. We had another one that went down the middle of the field, and we sort of tipped it. We had a good chance to be able to intercept that one. We didn't make that one. Even the first play of the game, he threw it quick, threw it into a really tight window, and we're going to have to make our share of those and get those. They made the plays, we didn't, and that kept some of those drives alive. But it's not always about the outside guys when it comes to quick passes. A lot of that quick passing is on the inside part of the field.
Jim, the defensive numbers for the most part haven't been good in good weather conditions or dome play versus outside poor conditions. Have you noticed any correlation between that and your defense's play?
I think it is a little bit easier when you do have some bad weather conditions. I don't know that we've really played any games this year that the weather has been so bad that you couldn't do anything offensively. Buffalo was probably the one that the wind affected it the most, but it certainly didn't affect our ability to stop the run. It didn't affect our ability to play, inside breaking routes and stuff like that, maybe on the outside part of the field. Always a little bit easier to play on, when weather conditions affect the game, but I don't think over the course of the year, I can't point to that as reason for our inconsistency.
I know if I asked how Fletcher's playing this year, the answer's probably 7-7.
Yeah, 7-7.
But if I'm beyond kind of the record, how is he playing relative to what you usually expect of him?
7-7. We can all do it a little bit better. I think it's not just about one individual person, it's about the team. Everybody makes it about stats and everything else. And we're trying to do whatever we can to come out with a win. And whether you make the play or your teammate makes the play gets made. And I would say this about Fletch. There have been a lot of plays that his teammates have made as a result of him either getting extra attention or being disruptive and someone else has made the play. But, when it's all said and done, it really doesn't matter who's making the play. It's a matter of, getting stops and keeping points down.
Fletcher's played like
wins.
95% of the snaps in each of the last 2 games.
Yeah.
And your snap totals weren't really high overall, but is he pretty much going to have to continue with that the rest of the year?
Well, we've gone in with 3 defensive tackles, and we've seen how that affects our reps. So we'll just see where we are going forward with that. But, we always want to have rotation, try to keep guys fresh. Go back to last week against the Giants, second half of that game, nobody needed any rest. We just kept getting 3 and outs. So your rotation sort of falls by the wayside because, the offense is holding the ball a long time. Even this last game, when our offense was driving, we had multiple, it seemed, I don't know what they were, but it seemed like there were 12, 13, 14 play drives. And that certainly helps when you have guys playing more snaps. It takes away the need to have to rotate and even rotate within series.
When you look at the last 3 games, you guys have given up, big game to the opposing wide receiver in each one. And, obviously now you've got Amari Cooper. What's the challenge? What makes him difficult? And what can you do differently to have more success against him?
Well, same as everybody. First, you have to tackle well, and we didn't do that. We gave up the 75-yarder in the last game. Had as much to do with tackling as anything else. We were a little bit loose on the coverage, but that's a play that we shouldn't give up a 75-yard touchdown with. The other one is you have to make plays on the ball when it goes up in the air. Good vision on the ball and, good high point when you have guys like Cooper that they'll just throw it up to. You have to be able to come down with that. And I think there's a pass rush element to it too. Take the quarterback's timing away from him a little bit. And I think there's some scheme to it also. And there's different ways you can roll coverage. And, sometimes you're robbing Peter to pay Paul when you do that. But sometimes it can have an effect.
I think you've got only about 6 takeaways in the last 7 games. Given the limitations of how the offense operates right now with all the injuries, do you need to shorten the field for them?
I don't know if it's shorten the field for them, but, we've talked a bunch. Things you judge your defense on is keeping points down and setting your offense up. And I mentioned, particularly this last game, the opportunities that we've had, we haven't really capitalized on. I think that game would have looked a lot different if we would have had a couple takeaways, red zone takeaway, maybe, takeaway right before the half or something like that, that would have been able to set our offense up. But we're trying to keep the points down, trying to help our offense. And sometimes that can be forcing a punt backed up. Sometimes that can be, getting the ball for them in good field position. Sometimes that can be our special teams changing that field position. It all goes hand in hand.
Jim, why didn't Kamut play very much?
Well, they ran a lot of big personnel in there, and we had a little different lineup in the big personnel. So I think that took a little bit of his snaps away. And then third down, we were a lot of dime personnel. It was sort of just the way that they had played, and the way that and our matchups against it.
So it wasn't any disciplinary thing?
No.
Jim, after the game, Malcolm talked about some of the same things you did, like they're not really concerned necessarily with how many points they give up. It's just the next play. At some point, do you?
No, we're concerned about the points we give up.
Well, yeah,
but you got to have. I think that if I read that right, his point is probably a little bit more. You can't dwell on the past. Right. You have to be able to move on.
That they start to do that at a certain point? I mean, do you think that, if they give up too many plays, that starts to happen with the defense?
I don't know. I think a sign of a good defense is being resilient. You're not always going to play perfect, and you have to be able to come up and make the plays when they come up the next time. We didn't play our best game this last game, but tie game. All of a sudden, we were in bad field goal or in field goal range right there. We were able to come out, get a stop. Our offense was able to capitalize on that, go down and score. We were able to go finish the game. We need more of that as a team. Good complementary football.
The follow-up on the Cooper question, how has the development of Michael Gallup affected this matchup or kind of changed the matchup from the recent times you played them?
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a vertical player, can make plays down the field. They got good players at different positions. It's not just Witten at tight end, but Jarwin's doing a really good job. Cobb and Austin both get some slot reps, and those guys have made big plays for him. Obviously, their running back has made a lot of big plays for him, and Cooper gets a lot of attention, but those other guys are all big parts of that offense. In this last week, they rushed for over 250 yards. So it's not always just about those wide receivers. It's about that offensive line and running the football and quarterback. And the quarterback's taken very few sacks this year. I think we had 3 in the first game. Derek had 1. Ridge had 1. We had another one. Oh, Fletch knocked the ball away. Yeah, no, I think it was Fletch. Fletch knocked the ball away. Ridge had 1. Fletch had 1, and Derek Barnett had 1. But I don't know that he's had another game that he's had 3 sacks. So it all goes hand in hand. They present. It's that time of year. This is a game for the division, and they're going to line up with their players. We're going to line up with ours, and we got to fight to come out with a win.
Jim, how much of a difference can the crowd make in this game? A couple of false starts, or?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing is crowd noise always makes it difficult for opposing offenses to communicate. They do a lot of checks at the line of scrimmage and things like that. But I think it's more than just that. It's more than the noise affecting the game. I do think that our players feed off of the energy of the crowd, and in a big game like this, it has a lot of it'll be a playoff atmosphere. Our guys know the stakes of this game, and I'm sure our fans do too. They'll know what time it is. Okay, thanks, guys.
Hello. How's everybody?
Mike, these last two games for Carson to have the comeback wins in the last drives, what can that do for him, not just this year, but his whole career?
Well, I think confidence is a result of demonstrated performance, and to go out and play the way that he's played, not only just these last two games, but you go back to Miami, he's stacked a lot of really solid performances together, and we're doing a lot of really good things offensively, and I think that gives everybody confidence.
We saw a more diverse set of personnel formations in that game than I think any point this year.
Right.
How has like the week of game planning been different, trying to incorporate all those things, given your limitations on the outside?
How has it been different? I wouldn't say that the planning's still the same, but there's different body types now that you can incorporate, I guess is where you're going with that. And so taking all of that into consideration, the skill sets of the different guys, and try to utilize those guys and get them on the field, and kind of not only we talk about tempo in here all the time, but kind of change the pace with the personnel groups as well. So allows you to be creative in that direction.
Is that kind of like is fun a right way to describe it?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, it's fun. It's certainly a process. It can be described like a science project. In terms of how we're going to tag a particular play with what personnel group, and if it's that personnel group, or where's this guy going to be, and where's that guy going to be, and how do we get him over here and the other guy over there. So it can prolong the process, but really in a good and healthy way.
I think we've seen since this
He didn't have any in the first 6 games of the year, and he's had like 13, I think, over the last 8. So is there something he was doing, or is there something he has been doing more recently in regard to controlling the football that he was maybe doing first half of the season?
Yeah, I think we're all very conscious of it. I think Carson's very conscious of it, and we just try to continue to reiterate it and do a really good job with his pocket security when he is moving around, because he's got the ability to slip a guy and move in the pocket and get free. And those guys, sometimes it's usually the guy you don't see that knocks the ball loose. So just trying to do a really good job, be conscious, keeping 2 hands on the pocket. I don't think there's any discernible difference now.
Mike, we've seen since the Cowboys game that defense has taken the vertical route away from Miles to some extent. He hasn't had any of those downfield passes. You guys were scheming them up over about a 3 or 4 game stretch. What have you seen? What have defenses done to Miles when he does go, when he does maybe flex out wide or runs a wheel?
I don't think anybody's done anything in particular to take it away.
So why haven't we seen
I think we called I know one for sure the other day, and the right look didn't present itself, so that the play didn't come to fruition. But trust me, we have those up every week. We understand how explosive Miles is. We got a lot of confidence in him going down the field and making those plays. You kind of saw a little bit there on the scramble for the touchdown where Carson threw it to him there in the back of the end zone, where he's able to get downfield again and get behind the defense and make another big play. So we understand he's a weapon, and we're going to continue to try to do those things that you're talking about.
When you have a young player like Miles who's can make a big play at any moment, he had 25 touches Sunday. How aware of that are you as the game proceeds, and is there a point where you think it could be too much, and how do you balance all, want to have
how aware are we of his
touches
his
as
touches?
the game goes on, and is there an upper limit in your mind with
No, I think you just try to gauge where he is physically, and it's late enough in the year. His stamina is excellent right now. He's in really good game shape, and he's played a full college season now, so he's really not a rookie anymore, and he's prepared. We talk about this, how the guy prepares, how seriously he takes it in all phases, doing a lot of different things that he probably wasn't asked to do. In college, where he's got to be on his game on every snap, and he's done a tremendous job.
As far as Miles goes as a runner, how much improvement have you seen with just patience and letting his blocking develop from week 1 to where we are?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of improvement. He and Deuce spent a lot of time going over not only just the game plan, but the different blocking schemes and the run game that we have, which there's a lot of carryover every week, but then there's game plan specific runs that we get, and being able to get those, there's nothing that replaces the game action and that experience. So every carry that he gets, I think he gets that much better.
As Carson's touchdown to Miles comes on the screen in a meeting, is there any coaching insight you or press or Doug can offer, or is that just Carson making a play?
Yeah, I think it's guys making a play, really, Zach. Pretty amazing. One of those wow plays was certainly a great play that those two guys were able to make. He stuck it, right in his chest and got it through about 3 different sets of hands and arms. So really, one of those kind of plays.
With respect to that play, Mike, his out-of-pocket numbers are really good. Yet it seems like he's less anxious than, say, 2 years ago before the ACL to extend plays like that. Is that the case?
You're talking about just off-schedule plays? Is that, yeah.
I mean, did you guys make a concerted effort to want to keep him in the pocket more, or is it just happenstance?
I think it's happenstance. I mean, obviously we like for the, in the drop back and even the play action game for the play to get off on schedule, but it doesn't happen like that. And we're fortunate that Carson's got the ability to be able to escape and extend plays and keep vision down the field and be able to throw on the run and make those kinds of plays. So the fact that he's able to do that really adds to the offense.
On that play when Carson does go into scramble mode, what are the teacher's instructions to Miles there?
Yeah, when you work a scramble drill, early in training camp, it gets a little condensed there in the red zone, obviously. So, Miles started in the flat. He's really the low player, and then as you scramble, if you're low, you're taught to go deep. If you go deep, obviously there, if you're coming across the field and you're working the back of the end zone there, and I think it just happened. I mean, there was a bunch of guys over there in that corner. There wasn't a lot of room.
What are your takeaways from a film review from the first game against the Cowboys that could be kind of applied here?
Well, I think we talked about it early. We had the 2 turnovers early, deep in our territory, and we can't do that. We can't turn the ball over and give them a short field and put our defense in a bad position. We got to take care of the football and continue to stay on the field and drive the ball down the field. We got to score points. We got to get points early in the game.
Is their defense any different than it was when you faced them?
No. I mean, they played really good all season long. They got a lot of talent, a lot of speed, very good scheme. They're well coached. So we're looking forward to the challenge.
One difference is Michael Bennett, though. What's he been like inside? How they utilized him?
Yeah, I mean, Mike can create some issues. Obviously, one-on-one, get to an edge and put pressure on the quarterback. He's been able to do that throughout his career. We had him here, obviously, and made a lot of those kinds of plays for us. So, he's one of those guys that you guys pay special attention to.
You have a lot of young guys who haven't been through. I mean, you guys are playing for the playoffs on Sunday. You have a lot of young guys who haven't been through this. Do you ever wonder how they respond, or you don't even think about it?
I don't. I just looked at the last 2 games and the way that they've responded with the opportunities that they've had, the confidence that they've displayed, and the way that they've performed. Every week in the NFL there's pressure. There's pressure to perform on every snap and in every game, and every game's intense and closely contested. And those guys have done a tremendous job, and expect nothing less this Sunday.
What's it been like seeing Greg kind of his journey from being a guy who was released as much as he has been to making a level of impact?
It's a lot of fun to see Greg have the success that he's had. He had to put a lot of work into it, come a long way in terms of his development and transitioning from quarterback to receiver in this league. And it wasn't an easy road. It was a winding road, and he stuck to it and continued to believe in himself and go out there and work and get better and put himself in a position to earn a spot and then take advantage of it. It's one thing to get out there, but then you got to go out there and you got to make plays and you got to take advantage of it, and then more plays come to you, and he's done a great job with that.
Mike, to follow up on Rube's question in relation to Carson, when you're coaching him up this week or coached any quarterbacks up, in preparation for a big game like this, do you just say this is any other game, or do you kind of emphasize the importance of it?
No, these kinds of games, the guys know what's on the line, and not only that, it's Dallas, and Dallas is an important game here. It's a divisional game, and we understand everything that it entails, but we want to go out and play, one play at a time, and that's all you can really do, and play with fundamental discipline and great eye control and great communication, and worry about the things that we can control, our preparation and the way that we go about it, and go out there and play with great intensity and urgency and energy, and go have some fun, make some plays.
In the past, you've spoken about having plays dialed up to try to get Alshon involved, or maybe a play that was designed for Deshaun. With the personnel different, do you still have plays designated to try to get a certain player the ball, or are you kind of more creative in terms of either personnel groupings or plays themselves?
Yes. I think, to answer your question, yes to all of that. Yes, we still design plays specifically for certain players. Most of the players, really. Some get more than others, but yes, we got to be creative with the personnel in terms of, like we were talking about, in terms of where we're putting guys and who's on the field, and trying to maximize the talents of everybody that's available. And then trying to make sure that we're not doing or overloading them with a bunch of new stuff, but like here's stuff that we think that we're really good at because we have confidence in this over the course of a season, and here may be a new way to do it. Something that we have a lot of confidence, an old play, but here's a new presentation that they're not practicing on down in Dallas or whoever it is that we're playing.
Follow up on a Miles question, how much do you think Jordan's absence has kind of sped his development, or do you think he would be here, where he is now anyway?
I mean, that's hard to really determine. I can really only speak to what he's done, which is a lot like Greg. He's taken advantage of his opportunity and has maximized his opportunity. Now, he was still going to be a big part of what we were doing offensively. We still, he's one of the guys that we need to feature and get the ball to, and his ability to turn short runs or short throws into long runs, or whatever the case may be, is impactful. So he's maximized his opportunity, just like Boston has. Probably more than Miles is Boston, who's been able to get out there with the absence of Jordan, and he's another guy that he just showed up every day and went to work and continued to try to put himself in a position so that when his number was called, that he was ready. And he's obviously done that, and so he's continuing to earn more and more time.
Okay, thanks,
yeah. All right, guys, thank you.